Welcome to a Drop Tent Media production.
This week on Seriously Dad, we go back to school. We're talking about what it was like when we went back to school. We're going to talk about what our kids are going through back to school. We're going to get into the craziness of school uniforms all the way down to the partying that happens in high school and what that means and how we can use that in our histories to pass that on to our kids. Check it out.
Seriously, Dad?
Seriously, Dad? Two father comedians out of Philadelphia. Seriously, Dad?
Dad? Seriously?
Dad?
Seriously?
We are back, and it is back to school time. Speaking of back
Back to school.
Getting ready. I'm not getting ready, but my wife is getting ready. We had to go back. I did new teacher training. I teach some of the new teachers.
You teach the teachers?
So yeah, I teach.
Oh,
that's
shit.
one of my favorite things to do. Actually, that's really what I want to pivot to. For as long as I stay in education, my goal is to teach
Nice.
teachers now. So I
Okay.
go in for the last 7 or 8 years and do 2 sessions. The first one is like a Neo in the Matrix buffet of all of the tech tools that our school uses, so that when they hear the
snap, the
terms,
tech tools.
I can kind of help them say, okay, you're going to hear this a lot, and this is why. You're going to hear this word, and you'll only need it if you're doing X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
And so my goal there is to just kind of give them a minute to breathe. I have to let them know about these systems that we have in place, but my goal is to make them, because it's a whirlwind. When you're a new teacher that week, it's like you're there 7 to 3. You're in all these meetings. It's just meeting.
Oh,
You
God
can't get
damn
to
it.
your classroom. You can't. So all the prep has to come after it. But you look like you put your hand in a socket at the end because you're just so stressed with all of this influx of information.
meetings.
So
Now-
my goal is to like help them, because I come in second day, mid morning before lunch, and just kind of give a little comic relief. Obviously, I use humor in there, but
Nice.
just helping them decide what's useful and what's not. And then the second day is a more hands-on of the classroom. We use a system called Canvas, and it's like a virtual classroom system that now, since COVID, a lot of teachers are still using for kids to turn things
So
in, to assign
Are you
stuff.
doing so you're not doing training like, okay, if you're in class and Raul tells Steve that he's a little piece of shit and stands up, you need to get in between them.
There is no training for that. To be honest, like when those moments happen, like sometimes if you're in a school where it happens a lot, maybe they do train you on how to de-escalate and how not to. Escalation is the term they use, where don't flame the fire, and how to separate. But I mean, fortunately, I don't teach in a school where we have to spend a time on that.
Okay.
Other than the situation, which is tell the kid that's antagonizing to get out, or you go over to the phone and you call for the school officer to come down.
And then an officer
in a
comes and
worst
like
case.
escorts
Yeah,
you
That's where
out.
Albert comes in.
or a
Albert.
dean or a assistant principal or whoever. They'll have someone you call down to the office.
Yeah, when I was in school, they called,
Those
called,
schools, they call it Albert, just be like, teach them jujitsu. You're
Yeah.
gonna need it.
Yeah.
They called it Owl Patrol when I was in school.
So like we're getting ready. So then that was this week. Next week the teachers go back. All the teachers come back. Welcome back meeting. Here's some new initiatives for this year, and hopefully they get some time in their rooms, because then the next week is go time. Kids come 28th, ready to roll. So we're doing it as teachers, but we also have to get our kids, because now both of our kids are school age, full day school age.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about like when we were kids. Like my favorite for my daughters now is seeing what book bags they want. Because I don't know about you, but like book bags and lunch bags when you were in like elementary was like, that's how you showed your
That was
personality.
important. And
Like
it was
that.
weird. A
Do you
new book
remember?
bag every
Do you
year.
remember any of the ones you had as a kid?
Mine were always. I didn't get like cool. They were just like
Whatever book bag.
like a purple bag. You know what I
See?
mean? Like a JanSport. I guess that was
Yeah,
like
that was a
right,
big
like,
one.
But I never had like a really awesome bag. I never. That wasn't.
Pinnacle
wasn't in
of
my
my
cards.
career, 1991 WWF. And it was WWF then. It wasn't the Panda
WWE
Wild
bullshit,
Federation.
yeah.
It was World Wrestling Federation. And it was like this locker style book bag. So it wasn't your typical shape. It was like a big square, and it zipped from the side and it opened like a locker.
What?
And then it had like, on the left, second row.
Jesus. Right there.
All the way over. Yeah, I think that was
That was
it.
it right there. Big square bag.
Oh my God. Yes, that's
That
it.
was
Oh
it,
my
huh?
God. So if you're viewing on YouTube, you'll be able to hopefully see.
Look at that thing.
But it was like
was that the Ultimate Warrior?
Ultimate
the
Warrior,
Bush,
Legions
the-
of Doom, Hulkster. And it opened from the side. It had a little compartment up top to slide your shoes in for gym class. And for me, that was big because I was a Catholic school then. So we had to wear like dress shoes during
Oh
the day.
yeah.
And then you had a room where you could slide your books in underneath and it looked like a locker essentially.
Now you were hype about that for like a week and a half, right? And then you were like, this
I think I
fucking
might.
thing.
I'm still hype right now. Okay, right? Like I just saw that photo and I almost lost my.
Yeah, that is true. Like, yeah,
Like,
like,
so that was the book bag, but then you also had the lunchbox, and
This is deceiving. It looks like a lunchbox. I didn't realize it's
Yeah.
just small in the shop. But okay, so there was a lunchbox of this.
so
as well?
so you also now the lunchbox you would carry. It had a handle.
Right.
It was the
I
typical
do remember
plastic
little plastic.
ones.
Now I do remember
You know those
I don't
plastic
think I
ones.
had
It
one.
came with a matching thermos. Now I
Yes.
think I had a wrestling one, but it wouldn't have been that same design. But it would have been like a WWF lunchbox, and I forget what the name of it was. Just Thermos that made them, the company.
That
So
little- that
yeah, it
little
would have
thing
been
right
like the one maybe in the top left.
I bet
or
you those
something
things are
like
worth
that.
a ton of fucking money right now.
Where it was just all of the stars on it. It came with it said WWF
Yep,
and the
Hulkster
thermos.
right up front, Rowdy
And
Piper
if the
in
thermos
there,
fit
Macho
inside,
Man.
there was enough room for a sandwich and a snack, and the vegetable sticks that you wouldn't eat, and it was just all there. You know, it was all.
You know, what's funny is I didn't have that, but there is a level of nostalgia. I must have had something because I'm seeing this and something's
Do you know
coming
all
up.
of those guys? Do you know the characters on that?
Sergeant
thing?
Slaughter,
Got
Ric
Sergeant
Flair,
Slaughter. Yep.
Macho Man Randy Savage,
Yep.
Hulk Hogan, Jake the Snake, Roddy.
You saw the Undertaker there.
I don't think my
Right
eyes are
behind Ric
picking that
Flair.
up. That's the Undertaker right there. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean that's about
Jimmy Dugan with the 2x4 in the back.
Yeah.
Hacksaw.
Hacksaw
Dugan, that's his name?
Roddy Piper, Big Boss Man. Is that Sid Vicious?
Yeah.
Earthquake in the back left, who looks like Vince Kowalski. By
He
the way.
does.
Wait. Sid Vicious that's the guy from the Sex Pistols. They made him a wrestler.
There, I don't know. In the back is that the Brutus Barber beefcake with the scissors, maybe. Yeah.
More like you know all these people. Some of these people are still making money off of this shit.
Oh my
right?
goodness.
The Hulkster's
Well,
still making money.
Did
Ric
you see
Flair's
the
all over
wrestler with
Instagram.
Mickey Rourke, where
No,
like was
no.
the docudrama of what it's like to be one of those?
Oh, if you're not a megastar, that's a shitty life.
It's so sad. Like it ruined it. It was like when you find out Santa's not real and he's just a drunk that shows up at the mall. Like, oh my God, it was so sad.
I was gonna say when you find out your Nikes are made by a 4-year-old in another country,
like,
but
that's a good
like
one.
wait a minute, these are. Yeah, that's but those guys are still making money off that shit. That's insane, man.
But that, I mean, that having that book and marching into school, 3rd grade at St. Rose Elementary in Carbondale, Pennsylvania, and I'm all
Jesus
like
Christ.
amped
You're
up,
6 years
man.
old.
Getting on the bus, like it must have been like 7 or 8, and I'm like getting on the bus. I can't
Get
wait
this
to show it
education,
off.
brother.
Yeah,
Pumped up.
Look here,
to a
teacher.
Slim Jim.
Dude, I don't remember at that age going to school. I remember being like 6th, 7th, 8th, like
Yeah.
those. And for me, it was about the clothes. It was about the drip. Now we didn't
I
call
feel
it
like
drip
middle
back then. We
school.
called it
I feel like
something.
not until middle school I cared about drip. We had uniforms.
Middle school, you cared about sneakers only. That's
Yeah.
how I felt.
Yeah.
I remember I had some Charles Barkley's, like these Nike Air Maxes. That was a hot sneaker. And then I had a lot of skateboard shoes. I had a lot of Vans. I had a lot of
Airwalks.
Etnies, Airwalks. I had shit like that because I was riding skateboards. And then in high school, then it was like the whole outfit. You had the whole fit had to be good.
Oh,
you had to
yeah.
look sharp. I wore a lot of Mark Echo back then. Remember that company, Mark Echo with the rhinoceros?
Yeah.
A lot of Mark Echo back then. That was it. Timberland boots, shit like that.
So you never had a
know?
uniform?
Yeah, and when we lived in New York and I went to private school, I went to Hebrew private school, Park East Day School, we had uniforms. That was like a cutoff sweater. I think we had collared shirts under, dark slacks. And my mom made us wear penny loafers.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
But that was bullshit because you could never do anything athletic. That was a problem. Be like, oh, we get recess outside. Have fun in your loafers, bitch.
if you had your locker WWF book bag, then you would have had your
So
sneakers.
you changed your sneakers at recess.
Oh yeah, sneakers at gym class because we had a gym uniform too. So like
Oh,
I mean, I went to 6 different schools, but the Catholic schools had a uniform and it had a gym uniform.
We had a gym uniform too.
and but even for recess, you would then change your shoes and you would get your sneakers out,
And so you
you'd
could go hammer
so you
that
could go
kickball
play
shit.
dodgeball.
Yeah,
Each
I-
kid
I-
was Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I used to have my grandmother. I would win the presidential patches.
Okay.
All right. For those of you who don't know, it means I was a badass at a young age. and I would have them sew them on my shoulders, bro.
Jesus.
So I'm sitting there and I would have my fucking blue and red patches on my shoulders, like, yo, motherfuckers, this is who I am. Back then, only like two kids got this shit.
That's like little kid airborne. Like, he's just like trying to, it's like Navy SEAL.
I got a purple heart.
You got to remember, I went to a Hebrew private school.
Oh,
there were not a lot of patches in that school. I'm the only one with patches. Me and this other kid were the only one who had patches, and he did it.
Honestly,
I got the idea
there
from
wasn't
him,
a lot of patches.
and I was like, dude, I want these on my art. And I was like, that was that
cool.
guy. Yeah, man.
Because you're right. You like when we have a uniform, like you can't show off. So like at first we even had a school tie. So in middle school, you could do the sneakers at like gym and recess, and then it was Air Jordans were like the apex. Never owned a pair. And it was one of those schools I transferred in at like third grade. A lot of them had been with each other since preschool. So I got accepted in, but there were kids that came in seventh and eighth grade where it was harder to get in. But if you could have Air Jordans, I never had.
Have
Air
you never
Jordans.
in your entire life never owned a pair of Jordans?
My first paycheck, I think I mentioned this before. My first paycheck as a school teacher, I went over to the outlets and I got a pair of Air Jordans.
Nice.
And I tell you what, shittiest sneakers I ever owned in my life.
Yeah. Did you ever have a pair of Air Jordans?
Well, the hope was I would get
never did.
and I was trying so hard, and like they were $100. My mom's weren't going to pay for that. It's like we had a friend in the family who was in the military who was away and stationed in Taiwan where they're made, and
did he hook it up?
And so that was always the hope. It never came through, but that was I just still remember.
I mean, I played ball, so I mean, I just
Yeah.
didn't want to like they weren't comfortable, and I didn't understand kids that could run in them. I always ended up just going.
So I ended up having like kind of like you said about your book bags. I had the shoe version of that. I had the shoe with the purple basketball on the side from Kmart.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and so it's like
Pay
we
less.
didn't. Yeah,
Do a little pay less action.
Pay less.
Yeah.
Also, don't forget, I have a size 15 foot. So my mom was like, okay, so that's a house mortgage that I'm going to need to pay to get shoes for this kid?
See, I wore Jordans, but only to play basketball. I never really wore them to look cool, or like if I finished the season and I would wear them to school for like but I was never like, oh, I gotta get these Jordans to wear out. But they had a
club. It was called the Jordan Tiers, and you could only be in the Jordan Tiers
Holy
you had
cow.
Jordans.
if you had Jordans.
This is a club in your
third
school?
grade, and there was a kid, Nick, who had started this club.
Rich Nick.
If you could
Yeah,
say,
little rich prick Nick.
He had
Yep.
his own basketball hoop in his
Oh, he
house that
definitely
was
did.
in the ground. It wasn't the one.
No, it wasn't
you,
that bullshit with the water that
they
kicked
actually
over.
put it in. And,
Yeah.
You couldn't sit at his table for lunch unless you had
What
Air
a
Jordans.
dick.
Holy
Nick
And
the
yeah,
dick.
you had to be part of the Jordan Tiers. He was always starting something like that. He always was, and so I just couldn't be a part of it. I just
You didn't want to be part of Jordan Tiers anyway.
So I was like, you know what? That's fine.
When it came to ball, it was and one clothing at a
Yeah.
certain
Oh,
point.
that was-
So
we were
and
heavy
one
on
was
the
like,
and
you know,
one.
that was huge.
The big
Fila-
baggy
Fila
shorts.
was big because I was like Grant
Fila-
Hill
Grant
had
Hill
like on
was
that
a Fila
sponsorship
guy.
in my era. And so the goal in middle school then when you were outside of school or on the occasional casual Friday, then you would suit up. So it was like if you had Fila's, then you had to have Fila
Fila
sneakers,
sweats,
Fila
Fila-
socks,
yeah,
Fila shorts, Fila shirt. Like you had to have it all.
I love all of this now because a lot of us in our heads we like, dude, we must have looked so cool. But you know for a fact that like none of the
All the
girls
girls-
noticed.
yeah, all the girls
like the girls are like,
noticed.
oh, swooning, feeling.
Right?
I'm feeling a certain way. Like it's like,
That's
get
right.
out of here. Like we did not. Yeah.
I was on the basketball team, so like then you're like, oh, you're trying to like you had to Michael Jordan cologne.
Michael Jordan
and,
cologne. I had Michael
You're
Jordan
wearing the
cologne,
Tommy
yeah.
Hilfiger was
Tommy
big
Hilfiger
then.
was
So like,
big, yep.
So then we could kind of wear like a hoodie over our like uniform that we had to wear to the game.
Nautica.
but, like,
Remember Nautica?
Nautica.
Nautica,
Oh, God,
Nautica
kids
tea,
just covered. in
Nautica had a cool cologne for a while that was kind of like the
Competition.
air tank.
Nautica competition.
yeah, and I really liked that. I had that for a minute.
No, I always liked the way that smelled mixed with weed.
All right, we get it. You were a cool kid. Shut up.
I like the way cologne smelled when you because that's when you were spraying.
Did you
the
at
most when
least look
smelled like
awkward, or
weed.
did you look as good as you look?
I probably looked awkward. I had a big afro.
He
for
had a
long
big
time.
fro, but we
I
just-
had a
I wanna
big
see a
afro.
picture.
We just don't know. Let me get into the. Let's see if
I
they-
had a big afro. I was an interesting kid because I had like this jockey side of me where I was playing basketball and stuff, but then I was riding snowboards and skateboards, and
Right.
so I was like, you could see me
Yeah.
one day, I look like, and you can see me another day, I look totally different.
That is
So
a weird thing.
It's a weird thing. Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's like,
yeah,
so
all the
I got
jocks were
those-
jocks, and then I went more skater goth route. That
Now, were you like so in terms of the kids around you? Were there kids? Did they look like you? Were there people that were more black than you? Were you around
No,
mostly white kids?
I was around most. So when I was in northeastern Pennsylvania, upstate New York, Mostly white kids.
So did
Mostly
you?
white
So
kids.
then
And then
did
there was
you?
like 4.
So did you do cool stuff with your hair that you knew they couldn't do?
Yeah,
Just
like,
so you say,
like
"That's so
cornrows
cool."
and shit.
Yeah.
I had a big afro. I had 3 really good friends, and they were all the black kids. All the black kids hung out together. And when we were hanging out, then I was like wearing that Mark Echo shit with the fucking Timbs to school, and was really like trying to look good at school. That's when I really wanted
We
to
need a
look sharp.
photo of Al with an
I gotta talk to his dad.
We gotta do that. I'll bring in
Just like
photos
that.
of me if he brings.
I
photos.
definitely have a photo somewhere of me with an afro. But yeah, that was, and then we were like, that's when we balanced it, right? So we never wore jock stuff to school. We wore like the nice clothes to school, and then the jock stuff, like when it was time to be a jock. That's when you had like different outfits.
Yeah.
But I think uniforms, like, so well, you're so with Lainey, does she wear a uniform? Or
No uniform in school. We did a little school shopping over the weekend. Here's the thing about school shopping. You think, this is for the girl dads out there. You think you're like a good father until you go school shopping and lady looks at you and goes, "So what size is she?" And
Right.
you're like, 4.5 feet, I'd say. Give her that.
You just sound like you're building a boat.
You're like, fuck, I have no idea. I don't even know what to start because, like, they go up to 12 and then they move from like toddler to kid, and then I think it goes up to
Well, it's
12
by
and then it moves
age,
again,
like
right?
by
Yeah.
age, but even that is like subjective because, like,
Yeah.
right now, both of my daughters are wearing because my oldest is sort of where she's gone up, so now she's like really thin and tall. Where my other daughter hasn't hit the growth spot yet, so they're kind of wearing. They can wear the same size right now. Where like youngest is 7, my oldest is 9, but like they're wearing like 8, 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like they can wear right now. They're this area where they can wear those clothes. But yeah, it's by age. But even that is weird because
Yeah, it doesn't-
you got to try it on their
yeah.
kids. They're
Yeah,
growing.
yeah.
So I think you get a little bit of a pass on that because, and honestly, it's like, well, this week.
Yeah.
I mean, she's,
but it is
she's
it is
a growing
embarrassing because
kid.
she looks at you, she asks her what size, and she's looking you right in the eye. She knows you have no fucking clue, and you're like,
Well, yeah, I went up to that.
yeah, I mean,
You should say it's like it's different each week, to be honest. So
No, when you buy shoes, do you do the thing where you buy them big so they can grow into them?
So I don't buy shoes. My mom buys my mom's like the one on top of all of that because she's the one in the morning getting them ready for the bus. So she'll start
she's the one who
noticing.
knows that the
So actually, this year I'll be the one doing that too. So I might start noticing that more. But yeah, like we buy for my older one because then we're like, oh well, eventually my younger one can wear them.
Wear the shoes.
But yeah, so right now because the other day I saw, I'm like, Lisa, just get those on. Those are your shoes. And she's like, no, those are Katie's. And they were the same shoe, just it wasn't a size. And I wasn't paying attention to what size it was. I still don't know what it is.
I don't know the size Lainey wears. I'm like, I don't know. Look at her. Like, can't you tell by looking at them what size they are? But no uniforms. She's let's see. Skylar got these 2 jumpsuits yesterday. We went to the outlets.
Okay.
Which, by the way, you got to hit the outlets. Like nothing's. 2 things I realize: Five Below is your friend, and the outlets. I'm a Five Below. I'm like Papa Warbucks up in that bitch. I'm like, you want throw it in the cart, baby. I got you. Like she doesn't even know it's $3. I'm like, get 2 of them here. She thinks I'm like the king of the world. And the outlets, it's very inexpensive stuff. Skylar got really nice pink Jordan jumpsuit.
That's
matching,
cool.
And she got a Nike jumpsuit match. She looks so cute, and she got white Nikes. All at the outlet for probably like $30. Like it costs nothing. Lainey got a couple. She's in the hoodies right now, so she got a couple hoodies. Can't get jeans though because she's got that thing where she got really long legs, a very small waist. So the jeans
Just
all
aren't-
look.
they're
Yeah,
not
it's
there
just
yet
Like,
till
we
she
got
gets a
to
spurt.
figure that one out. But
Yeah, that's tough. So I kind of like, that's why I feel for the uniforms because I'm like, it's great. Like I know we could afford it. It's nice, but I often think about it like the kids who can't. Like I think about the Jordan Tears thing, and what if kids are getting made fun of because they can't?
yeah,
like,
because they can't be in the Jordan Tears.
Yeah, they
don't
can't
got
be.
the-
They
got the
can't afford
juice.
their. So I like the concept of uniforms, especially in like I think the school district that I used to live in, Pottstown, they do a school uniform even though they're a public school.
For that, is it for that? Is that why they do it for
that's
that
why-
reason?
Yeah. So you're leveling the playing field because it's not fair to some of these kids. They're getting made fun of for what they're wearing.
Yeah.
You can't. You're worried about like laying your clothes out the next day. There's all this
Yeah.
anxiety.
I only wore a uniform
You
my entire education
Yeah.
until college.
Yeah, so what, they give you 5 uniforms. They give you 3.
Yeah, that's
you
the
gotta
thing.
launder them. Like
It
what?
does suck
You
that
go and buy. You have to go and
launder
buy
them. No, it's a wool sweater made in 1925.
Yeah.
that weighs 8 pounds. And then we would just go to Goodwill and just get like white
You
shirts.
probably alternate between khakis and navies, right, for pants or something like that.
No, just one set of that was it.
Oh,
just
they
one
don't
set
come
of,
from the school. You
No,
just
no,
know
so
what
you
have
go to a
wear.
you go to a
You go to
nearby store
that does uniforms.
that has them there, because then the sweater might have the name of the school.
the
on
school
it.
usually
'cause
gives
ours
it to
did.
you. Like the schools usually like, go here to order your uniforms, and you would order whatever sizes. And of course, me going in, they're just like, I don't know, dude, we don't have enough fabric for
Yeah, that's
this.
what you-
Like,
senior-
you know what I mean?
yeah,
But
yeah.
but I actually liked it. I actually did, because it was much cheaper. I realize now it was the best way. Like, it is cheaper, and it's ridiculous.
easy.
That,
You're not thinking about it.
Like, it's cool. You had, like nice clothes from the outlets for your daughter. I think that's great. But it's like, if you only had to get those, like, these are your outside clothes, or just these are play clothes, and then you have a couple nice clothes. You don't have to worry about all the clothes that they'll eat through going to school and the wear and tear. Like, I actually, because we would. Did you wait? You had Catholic school. So when were you in Catholic school, and at what age were you?
So
like,
I did Catholic school, first, second, third, and then fifth through 10th.
Okay, cool. So then you got to do some of the boys stuff that you could get away with. I always felt bad for the girls. They got skirts in the summer, which is cool.
Yes.
The boys, we
Polo
would get a
shirts.
cheap Goodwill shirt, just a button up collared shirt, and I would just cut off.
cut it,
None of us
and-
had
'cause
any.
you- 'cause
We
you
were
had-
all wearing midriffs underneath.
That's
all
so
of us.
funny.
Like the NFL wide
Because we had to
receiver,
wear
they
the
get
sweaters.
shirt up
There was
there.
a certain. It was like Labor Day kind of
Yeah,
rules.
that's right. It was like till
So,
October
yeah.
15th, and then back again.
Then you
after
could
April,
switch to a
you could do
lighter polo. And
Okay,
so, unto that
so-
point, we all had wool sweaters and crop tops. We were all wearing crop tops.
I
on
did
it.
that because
Like
we,
a
we used
dickie.
to have to dress up on the day we had basketball games.
Right.
I did the same thing. I had like a shirt up to here, I had the tie in there, and then I just had a sweater.
Yeah,
over
you
it.
just over top.
Done
Yeah,
is
yeah.
done.
So the cool thing for us, so once you got out of like elementary, you had the clip-on tie. But if you forgot then when you got older, you could tie your own tie, and you could then bring. So I used to
could
get like
express
Looney
yourself with
Tune
the tie.
ties,
Oh.
like Marvin the Martian, like
Yeah.
you would do. That's how you would express yourself with your tie,
Yep.
and then you just had to have a suit coat or the sweater. But they weren't like making a certain style. So like one time for a school dance, I did all black with a white suit coat, and then a red tie.
Oh, you're killing.
Yeah, I was like,
Jesus.
they call me
Killing 'em.
Miami Vice.
Well, yeah,
Jeez, the
really.
grip on this kid. Jesus Christ.
And but I kept it in so what you would do is you would keep it hanging on the hook. Like it wasn't even like on a hanger. It's like you would just keep it by the time you're in high school. You just kept one in your locker to have.
yeah.
And you're like, whatever. But then your tie was your only thing. And if you forgot your tie,
You would get in trouble, right?
they would give you the little clip on from the elementary kids that went up to
Oh,
like
gosh,
here.
yeah, Ronald
And then
McDonald
it's
tie.
like, well, I have this vivid memory of in third grade, Steve Boguski coming in wearing his
Steve Boguski, a
wearing his
motherfucker.
tie because it was one of those that went around your neck and clipped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, but he didn't have a shirt on, so when he took his coat off,
He just had
had
like a Chippendale
tie.
tie.
Yeah. He looked like
Fucking Steve Boguski. He
and
would do
I
that.
honestly think he just forgot to put a shirt
Steve
on. I
Boguski,
think
he's
he
like that.
just, or I don't know. He was.
Well, then they
Oh,
also
if you
made the
think-
zipper ties. Remember they made zipper ties?
Zipper ties.
It was like one that would go around. It was zip, zip, zip.
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zipper ties. I had no idea.
It was like it was like a clip on 2.0. So it didn't clip on. It actually went over. So you put it over your head, and it was on a zipper track. And then you just
that's
pull the
cool.
knot up. It would be a zipper.
So-
We had the ones that either you like had the little flip, like my grandpa was a mall security cop, and they had the ones that had the little flip thing
The
that
little
you would hook,
Yeah.
and then it would just clamp down.
Yeah.
Or they had the ones that like you see like that there that they're around your neck. It's like
yeah,
a
that
little.
thing's a zipper. That's a zipper.
Yeah,
tie.
yeah.
Oh,
it
there's
is.
a zipper.
Yeah,
on
this
it.
is on the track.
I
and it just-
never
That's
saw
cool.
these. Probably because it's far too fancy for my liking. I knew how to tie a tie, so I could tie a tie in the
Yeah,
dark.
now
We tied it
it's
so
like-
many
You tie a
times.
tie.
You know what I mean? Where it's almost ridiculous. But yeah, there's like a little
Yeah,
zipper.
we didn't have.
Interesting.
One of the biggest things that I remember about school and uniforms, and I actually I feel bad for the girls. There was so many restrictions on what the girls could wear.
Yes.
And a lot of those restrictions were based on how the boys would not be able to control themselves. That's pretty fucked
Well,
up.
now it's weird.
That's
'cause now
pretty
it's- Now
fucked
it's
up.
even weirder because now with everything and it's like they're very hands off. They're very hands
because they don't want to tell someone.
It's
what
like
to,
yeah, we have like stuff like no spaghetti straps or you can't be strapless. But like or the yoga pants kind of thing.
So they can wear yoga pants to school.
So they can wear yoga pants to school, which is weird. But like,
This is me.
I think the goal was though I think some places they have where you have to wear a T-shirt that like
That covers
covers
like what?
it, yeah, down to your like thigh or whatever. But
See, that's weird.
Yeah, women would be pulled out of class.
But
if they're-
in our fucking handbook, this is in public school. It was like you can't wear this, and the reasoning was because you will distract the boys.
was that that's what?
Yes. So it was like your skirt couldn't be more than $1 bill above your knee.
Yep.
You couldn't have like a spaghetti
inches.
strap.
Yep.
I think like cleavage, it couldn't really be exposed. And it was all about like, yeah, if you wear that, then the boys can't concentrate. That's so fucking weird.
Yeah.
And then hair color. That was
Oh,
another
really?
one. You couldn't dye your hair an unnatural hair color.
Oh wow, I thought public school would have been
No purples,
Wow.
no
I'm
greens.
gonna pull up
none of that.
schools. I'm just gonna randomly because some of them have them online. I'm gonna see if I can find here dress code. All right, here's a middle school. Reserves the right to prohibit dress, jewelry, hairstyle that is beyond current community accepted standards or in any manner jeopardizing to the health, welfare, or safety of a student or other students. Any clothing judged to be a disruptive influence in
Yep.
class or interfering with the educational rights of others is considered improper dress. Certain types of clothing and hairstyles may be required for physical education classes or for extracurricular activities such as band and athletics. So then it says clothing and accessories are not permitted if they have sexually suggestive writing or pictures,
Okay.
advocate violence, advertise or promote the use of tobacco, alcohol, or drugs.
Oh,
have
wow.
double meaning, wording, or obscene language, are disrespectful or offensive to others. That's sort of like like you throw that one in and you're like that bullet point, or disrespectful or offensive to others. Like that's a hard one because that's like the catch-all. That's like,
You remember what our big one was, right? It was the juicy sweatpants.
oh yeah, where it's right
All
on
the
the
women with
Riding-
different
riding
stuff
on
on
the
the
butt.
butt and everything like that.
couldn't wear
A
those
lot
at
of
your
women.
school?
Well, no, of course, even if like on a dress down day or something like that, yeah, women.
Yeah,
would
well,
get
I
popped.
remember when I first
Juicy, Jesus Christ! I remember
Yeah,
pink.
juicy,
when I first started
sexy. It
when I
started,
first
you
started
know.
teaching, it was like 0506. Whale tails were the thing.
The fuck is that?
The
Whale tails.
style of underwear that was like a thong, and the way they would wear it above their
The pant
They
line.
would wear it
Oh.
over their pant line, and it looked like a
My
whale tail.
favorite.
Uh,
Sorry,
And
not
it was
of young
like-
ladies. I meant like, yes, I know what you're talking
Club
about now.
Risque, the whale tails are amazing.
But like
favorite.
that was a big thing because I remember like you're supposed to walk. One of the things they tell you is like you have to walk around the room. Don't just stand up at the top. And I walked to the back of the room and it was like I went to SeaWorld and I was like, oh, I'm done. I am not going back there ever again.
Back in the class is scary, guys.
I've like
Whale
stayed at the
tail.
podium and I
Yeah,
stay
yeah.
at the front of my room now.
boy.
I mean, but that was the thing back then, and it was just like, nope, I can't. Nope. And it's-
Shout out Desi Masello. What's up, girl? Thanks for showing your butt during class. I appreciate it. Sorry, I just want to shout out. She, Catholic school was sad sometimes. You know what I mean? But every once in a while, Desi Masello would just like walk to the front of the class and just. She would have nylons and everything on underwear, but like she would just flip it at the guys, like just show her butt real quick,
Okay,
like as
Desi
a like,
Masello,
and
shout out.
it was always a very nice like thank you very much.
Fucking Desi
It was never
Masello.
got weird or anything. She was just like boop like that,
Yep.
and you'd be
Well,
like,
and the girls would wear the different levels of how they would get short. Some would wear the long skirts, but you'd know. And then you'd see them across the way the desk would be in a room, and you'd see some of them like flapping themselves, and you'd be like, "What are you doing? Stop! I'm trying to learn math right now."
You know what
Alyssa.
was weird is that we had these dress codes in our school until there was a pep rally, and then the cheerleaders were just slutty as could be. They were dressed like their shorts were, and they would wear the fucking uniforms to school.
right,
Like during the day, the shorts were all high and shit, and I was like, "So wait a minute, like yeah, they just that was the only time you could pretty much get away with it." And
in
it was
Catholic
like,
school, they're the worst. We're the
Yeah.
worst. Like,
Yes.
I had like my girlfriend in middle school. It was my girlfriend for years, and like we would like sneak. We thought we had this foolproof plan. There was this little shed in the parking lot, so she would get dropped off early, and we go on the other side of the shed to make out. We're just
Yeah,
innocently
just-
making out, and what we didn't realize is our school building was one of those where it was the CYC style. So the gymnasium was massive. So when you walked into the gymnasium, but it was like 2-3 stories. So the school didn't start till you got like what would be like the third floor. So the school buildings were so high that we didn't realize that people who
just
were like
watching you make out?
could like see us.
Father
because
Houlihan
it
was just
so
pounding
high
off while
up.
you. Jesus
Yep.
Christ.
And I was like, you would get caught. It's so funny because we were so innocent, but it was like we thought we found like a spot.
What was the crime for making out?
No, nobody said. It was just one of those things that you're like, oh, like they were just doing that. But actually, the most embarrassing story that I
You two have to make out for at least 3 hours.
in front of
you get.
Well, so my mom really, actually, my mom to this day still like talks to this girl that I used to date when I was like in middle school.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have, but they,
Yep.
well, so there's it's weird.
It's weird. I can't. I love you. Weird.
But in any event, she came to Florida with us. Like we took her to Disney with us
As your girlfriend.
as my girlfriend. Okay. And we went on this ride in like, I don't know if it was Epcot or Magic Kingdom. It was Figment. Have you ever heard of this guy? But he was a dragon character that was part of your imagination. And there's this, like, you go through this area where kind of like the concept of flubber and all of that came from. So there's Journey into Imagination. Yeah, so I forget which park it's in, but it's Figment World and it's this dragon. So there's a ride that takes you through. And what we didn't realize, it takes you through all this darkness. So we're in this cart and we're just
Going
making out.
ham.
Like we're
Just going.
and all of a sudden, they take your photo.
Oh shit!
And then as you're riding through, it's on a giant screen. And it's just like, we're like raccoons who are in trash. Just like, they just open the back door and we're like this. And it's just like, and it was like, please take that photo down before the next cart of people come
Yeah.
by. It's just like, do you want to buy the key ring?
Really.
But like,
This
you're
is
just
an
like,
8x8
you're so
of my
stupid.
son.
Like you just don't think anybody like you when you're kids. You're just, and now it's even harder because of the cameras and phones and everybody could be
Oh
recording
my god!
you.
I
It's like,
couldn't even. I couldn't
but like,
even.
it was just innocent, like, you know, middle school fun. But like, it was there was embarrassing moments when you thought you had figured it out and you found something secret and like everybody knows your business. Or the girls who would get hickeys and then they would try to like
God.
wear like a
That was-
turtleneck
that-
and
that-
a turtleneck in like May.
That's got to be weird for a teacher. Could you imagine being like a teacher and be like, Jesus?
Well, there were some kids
Christ,
that
this
wear it like a
fucking
battle,
bitch has
like
a
wear it
hickey?
proudly.
Yeah, yeah. Could you be like, this bitch has a fucking hickey? Can you believe? You know, they were all talking like, you see Rhonda? This fucking bitch got a hickey. What?
Shout out Desi Masella.
Yeah, yeah. Could you imagine
She had
like,
some
you're like a
hickeys
cable?
sometimes.
Yeah, and then you like to tell like a young person you have to cover up that hickey.
Yeah.
You fucking weirdo. Like that's
Yeah.
It's weird.
That's I've
an
never
awkward
had a
time,
hickey.
yeah.
I've
We
never
shame
had
kids
I've never
a
had a
lot.
hickey.
I
in my
know. We
life.
shame them a lot. It's a shame.
Well, that's when you deserve. It's like
Really?
I don't know. The hickey was like, because it's like an innocent thing. Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna get pregnant from a hickey.
That's what I'm saying.
Nobody's
That's what
gonna
I
get
mean.
an
Like,
STD from a hickey.
it's
But
a-
how did the hickeys get it? First of all, I've known you both for a long time. Never seen hickeys. So they're
No, but
if you're getting hickeys into your 30s, something's
Yeah.
wrong
so
with who you're
what,
dating.
it's when someone's like sucking
Sucking
on
too
your
long,
neck.
yeah.
Neck, and then it,
Kissing
like,
rather than-
it-
yeah.
yeah, like
Sorry.
suck into the blood vessels pop, and it leaves the
Yeah.
bruise.
Yeah. It just-
Fucked up.
Kids necking.
Fucked up,
It's a
right?
mark that you're getting lucky. It's a mark that you get.
I guess, but I guess you just
Badge.
assume you get
Okay,
that. when you're having-
presidential. This guy's over here with presidential bands on.
Yeah.
That was
I just
my
thought-
presidential band.
Yeah, your badges.
There's a
I
different
heard
V
that
sit and reach on mine.
Got this outside the shed 2 days ago.
But I just
Like a whole war
one would
vet.
just assume that like you get a hickey when you were like having sex, right? You don't
Well-
like you make out and you just start sucking on someone's neck for like 6 minutes, and it's like
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah,
That was pretty much it, Albert. Okay.
Albert is so cool. He thinks hickeys
You
are
spent. Well,
dorky.
here's the problem. You were on that date for 2 hours. You spent the
Right.
first hour and 54 minutes wondering how to make your move,
Right.
and then it was 6 minutes, and her dad was there to pick her up. So yeah, and you're
Yeah.
just grateful that the bruise didn't form till after.
till
she
after
got
till the
home.
next morning, and then it's like, oh yeah, it was in school. It happened.
But
I
yeah.
mean, that was like that was a rite of passage, right? To be making out with a. Did you wake out in the hallways of your high school?
On the
No,
hallway.
Catholic.
We had a stairwell. What we found out after is the stairwell by the. If you went all the way down, you
Right.
could get cover. So
And
if
you
you come
get-
instead of
get
coming up
weird.
from lunch,
Right.
you could just scoot right over
Hey, meet me
there,
in the weird
and then be
spot.
the last one. You had time to make out until you heard everybody else file out from the
Okay.
lunchroom, and then once you did that.
My school was like fucking Amsterdam. People were just making out in the hallways.
Yeah, see, no,
like,
I was.
and I don't even know if they enjoyed what they were doing or if it was just an opportunity to show the world what you
Look what
do.
we're doing.
Like, this is what I'm about.
Well,
I
so
kiss pretty girls. Like, that's what I do.
We've had that in the hallways at school as now with me as a teacher, and we've seen that. So like, you're not so allowed to do public displays of affection per se. So like, one of the things one year my buddy confiscated a fart machine.
Nice.
And it was like a kid had a little speaker and it
like,
had a little remote.
right.
And so we were finding fun ways to use it. And so what we would do is like put it in or I put it in my pocket or my back pocket, and I would go stand over by them with like my back to them and just hit it as they were making out so that it was just noises.
Nice.
And you just try to do that to just like urge
Ruin
them on.
the makeout set.
We had a guy that would dress up like a drill sergeant on Halloween, and he was like he was patrolling PDA. He was like the PDA drill sergeant, so he would go around just yelling at any couples. That
he's
would
still
try to
employed?
come. He is.
Okay.
Okay.
So he tried to use it as Halloween as his gimmick to go around
To go,
and like.
yeah.
But like that, just trying.
It sounds
to,
like sometimes there was no making out, and he was desperately trying to get kids to make out.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's-
would say it's.
It's like, you guys weren't thinking about touching each other, right? And it's like, all right,
Yeah,
man, chill out,
easy,
dude.
Sergeant
No one's,
PDA.
You're a little too interested.
So it's like, well, what I've heard is you always have like areas in the school, like the band wing,
Yep.
because there's not a lot.
No one
not
goes down
a lot,
there
like,
because
No one.
You have the band teachers are in their room, but there's a lot of real estate there.
Yeah.
Theater
Lot of
kids,
little
band
nooks.
kids were fucking. Listen,
I think they were fucking more than all.
they
of
were
us.
getting up into.
I think they
some
were.
stuff.
I think the studies have shown. I don't really know if the studies have shown.
Yeah,
but-
can we go to the studies? Can we go to the studies, Neil?
No, I think the theater kids probably are the
the
most
theater
hardcore
kids
of
are
all
one of them, yeah.
And the guys and gals who you thought were fucking like the jock, they weren't getting much play. No.
So well, I remember so I always did a little bit of drama and so I remember on one I didn't do anything in the play, but I did the lighting or whatever backstage stuff, and really it was just like this panel with like you imagine a typical breaker in your house with the different switches. So I had different switches depending on the act that I had to
The
turn
red light,
on.
the red light,
that
yeah.
were, and so I was right where the girls got dressed in between.
man.
So I became, and you're like at that point it's like you're allowed to like see them, and you. And it's like this
I'm working here.
understanding. I'm working here.
I'm trying to get a job that's for you, good ladies.
I'm working here. No, but that was the understanding. It was like, oh, you're like a family or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
sure.
good. I loved every bit of that.
I bet. Yeah, like when you're like around. That's how it happens when you're around women. It's like, oh yeah, he's like my brother, and then just take
Yeah,
your
it's
shirt
like their
off,
bra for a second.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were getting fully naked. They was just like they had to change the leotard or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah.
See, I was doing when I was in high school. I was doing. My sister is 2 grades older than me.
Right. Here we
Played
go.
basketball, cheerleader. So all her friends were like, "Oh man, I would love when I would like come home and I'd be like, wait a minute, they're all here, like they're hanging out at my." It was the fucking coolest thing ever because it was all the girls that we all liked, and it was just cool. It was just fun. Like nothing cool. Like I was just like looking at them.
sure.
I wasn't, but it was fun. It was fun for me because
I
it
had
was
the
like
same.
all the girls that everyone thought was hot were at my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My buddy Nick, the guy who did the Jordan Tears I was talking about earlier. Well,
Wait, he's your buddy? You guys are
so
friends?
We became friends later
okay.
on. And he had his sister was one of the older sisters, and so there was this class like 2 or 3 above us. We would go to every high school basketball game when we were in middle school because they were either the cheerleaders or they were on the girls basketball team, and we would just sit there and like they were like.
It was just.
It was like Leslie Rock. Leslie Rock. Her name was like it wasn't spelled like Rock. It was spelled something. There was a Melissa something. Melissa Buckley, maybe. Oh, I mean, they were
and you were just sitting in the stands raging.
These girls were like the girls. They were like the untouchables. Like they were like the celebrities.
Yeah. Well, they were
of
to
our
you,
middle
but to
school.
their
yeah,
high- yeah, to
exactly
their high school,
right.
they were probably just
They're probably
annoying
all
bitches,
now
like-
like soccer moms.
Yeah,
and all that.
totally. But for you, that was
But
like the
back
hottest
then,
thing going.
That
It
was like, they were like the apex. It was like every movie. It was like every movie they walked by, it
Yeah.
slowed down. Like
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
slowed down.
and they always walked in the hallway like 4 abreast. You know what I mean? Like everyone else has to get in this single file
Yeah.
line, so you bitches can fucking walk down like a guy
an
like
episode
the
of
fucking
Mean
Budweiser
Girls,
Clydesdales
yeah.
or some shit. Yeah.
Oh, I remember being in Crush with a lot of my older sister's friends. I have 2 older sisters. Man, we had so when my sister was in high school, Yeah, just being like, I mean, dumbfounded by just the level.
Yeah, by
There's
the-
nothing. There is a line of like creepy. I feel bad about it now if I think about it because they're still friends. Like they have kids now, and I remember, meeting them just being like, I used to think about when you showered at my house, like just those moments of like, I'm just saying I thought about it. It was just a thought that came into my head. That's all. Just. But anyway,
there's this picture that we have that was floating around somewhere in one of our photo albums, and it was of our like high school years. And it's at my house. My sister had a whole lot of people over, and there's this one girl sitting on the couch, and the whole couch is wide open, and I'm sitting right next to her, and I'm talking there, and I'm like looking at her like this, and I was like, wow, I was like, no one said anything. No one was like, hey, chill the fuck out, bro. I was like in her face, like I got my smile going, and the whole couch is wide open, and I was like, wow, that's what you were doing like every other weekend for years. You didn't even realize how much of a creep you were. Whole fucking couch wide open.
But it's something about knowing them or like, because like, when I was old enough, I remember when I was old enough at 18, I don't know if you guys did this, but 18, I actually went to the strip club like as I turned 18 with a couple of my buddies. It was like right at past, wait till midnight, go in. And I'm like, wow, what a letdown. I was like, I don't know any of these girls. Like there was like, there's something about the mystique of like it's not about getting it. It's all about the unattainableness of it or the fact that you know them. Yeah. But I was like really let down by that. I really thought like...
Wait, did you go to the strip club thinking that like, all those girls were going to be in there?
I didn't see them, but I thought I would have the same feelings and now get to feel them. It was like, I felt them, but I didn't feel anything for them. And I was like, this is a letdown, and now I'm broke.
Right.
You know
I just gave up all
I
these
have no money.
I thought I had way more money. Turns out they were all singles.
And nothing to show. So except for the club that allowed when you were 21, then you could get they had a keg that once you paid the cover, you could just go there to drink. So we would just go because they would have pool tables and stuff there. So some people would just go.
Sometimes
they
are kind of fun to just hang out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes
for
other people.
I'll be honest. I have not been to one, and I could not tell you.
I haven't been to a strip club.
I was in a strip club.
All right. Well, I know what that means then. Dads are going to
seriously,
Dad.
I wouldn't even know what to. I'd be so afraid now that I would like have like a former student in one or something.
Wow.
There's a comic who I've talked about before. He's a good buddy of mine, and just every interaction sometimes always ends in like, you know what we should do.
You know what we should.
You know what I mean? It's like he'll try to get you to go, and I'm going with him, and it's fun. But like I can do 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
It's very repetitive, very quick.
I throw six. You
you're going to go up on stage and do a set?
I do a quick 60. I do a quick 30-minute set up there.
I mean, I did go for my bachelor party. Did you go? Did you?
No, my bachelor party was 4 women, and not my wife.
It sounds like you brought it to you.
No. We went to a place to play board games. We ate a bunch of edibles and played board games.
Okay, that's
cool. That was my bachelor party.
So when you got married a little bit old. I was like 28 or 29, but like. We went, and it was a motley crew of people because I had people who were my age, but then I was friends with all these teachers who were like 10 to 12 years older than me. And so it was this mix of they got this, and the older guys planned it. So they were like reliving their youth. So it was like Stretch Hummer. They found a place that was BYO. Okay, so all these coolers were loading in. My favorite thing then was Jaeger, so we're drinking Jaeger.
Oh my God.
And like we get in the thing, we rode up to Reading. And it was supposed to be a place called maybe Al's Diamond Cabaret or something.
Nothing to do with me.
Okay, so college kids and older guys all
did they
together.
Mesh well?
It was cool. It was cool because they were all the older guys were divorced or were hoping to soon be divorced. So they were trying to live like they were the other guys' ages who hadn't been married yet. And it was kind of cool though. But the problem was the younger guy, my buddy Bobby. We get to Reading. It was 45 minutes. He's got a piss. Like he's been sitting in the car. He broke the seal before we left. Rookie mistake.
Bobby doesn't know
drinking the 45 minutes there, and he had to go so bad that he popped right out of the Stretch Hummer, went about back, and took a piss. Well, so the rest of us get out, and this woman that like is like Large Marge from the Pee-wee Herman movie comes out. So where is he?
Oh, she could see on the camera.
And she saw on the camera that he went back by the dumpster and took a piss.
He got arrested?
Where is he? And so no, she's like, you're all out of here. I'm like, we haven't even been in here yet.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, look, it's a ton of us. We're getting off. We're going to spend money. We're bringing the coolers off. Nope, we got to load them all back on. We go to this other place that's
Not
like 30
BYO.
minutes away. That's
Oh my God,
not
this-
it.
Wait a second. You're telling me that a strip club got pissed at you for a guy
Him
guy
taking
pissing?
piss, and that became his nickname. So all of the other ones called him Pisser. And so then, like, we get in the thing.
We're
like,
doing
"God,
art in here,
Pisser."
guys. You think you can go around
Yeah,
back?
right. And he went around back. It wasn't like he like desecrated. He found like a spot.
It's not a church.
It's like
what the
Chappelle.
fuck are we doing here?
Chappelle's got that bit where
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah,
I can
yeah.
take a $5 bill up her ass.
like-
I can have a hat on when I do it.
So then we load it all back in. Everybody's pissed because now the next place is not BYO.
It's not the fun one. It's the
Well,
shit
it's not
one.
BYO,
Yeah.
and so now everybody had put all their money into the
Oh,
thing.
man, now you gotta drink
Now,
in the
but
limo.
they rallied for me because by this point I'm obliterated. I have no idea what's going on. I'm having a great time. I'm speaking Spanish to these because we're in Reading, so I'm like in there speaking Spanish to people. And then we leave. And apparently, everybody, the older guys were pissed because they were like, "We got to spend extra money now."
Young
Like,
guys don't
everybody's
like
trying
spending
to.
money. Young guy will blow that money.
And
I
so
don't give
we
a
get
fuck.
back, and everybody's kind of. So we get to the next place though. But here's the best part: we get to the next place. We get in there. Bobby gets in. Pisser gets up to the counter. Doesn't have his ID with him.
Yo, Bobby was Bobby invited to the wedding after all this shit?
He's such a good guy too.
How did
He like
he
really
left his
messed
idea- he
up.
left his
He
idea?
just had a day. He really messed up.
So wait, what do you do?
So
Do
he
you
takes
you
a
tell
cab.
Bobby? Okay.
He takes a cab back to Phoenixville from Reading. Cost him like $75. So that's his penance for the whole ordeal.
Yeah.
But it's still put out. So we end up having it. We get back in the limo. I'm still wound for sound. I'm asking them to take me to the bar where Amanda and I used to go, where I proposed to her at this. Where we used to play trivia there.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, you got to take me to Jack's. And so one of the guys who designated to be the sober guy, two of the sober older guys.
Definitely an older dude. No young guys.
Two
Like,
older
I'll be the
guys.
sober one.
Yeah, two Marks. Mark Hofer, Mark DeFuss. Great guys. So Mark comes with me, and the other guy's like, all right, I'll ride the limo back to the house. I'll get the car, and that'll give him 10, 15 minutes, whatever. We walk into this place, and it's packed. And I go to the corner. I order a Jack and Coke was my drink of choice back then. And I order one, but all I have is this memory of there being one there. And I'm like, oh, is that mine? So I grabbed it. It wasn't mine. It was a dude who was in the bathroom. And I'm just sitting there drinking this guy's drink. He comes out of the bathroom. He looks like Danny Trejo.
Oh shit!
You know,
yeah,
Danny Trejo
that's a
looks
scary
like.
looking motherfucker.
Yeah, because so he comes in, and then at this point I remember none of this. My buddy Mark's recounting it to me, and I'm like, because the next day I woke up with my face bandaged.
Oh really?
Face is bandaged, nose is killing me.
Danny Trejo punch in the nose.
So I was like, oh, did the mean streets get me? Turns out when he came back to the bar, my buddy's like, oh, no, looking for the bouncer or whatever. Well, this guy comes up to me and he's like, all I remember is you said something to him in Spanish. He looked at us and then he hugged you and said, we're now family. And I was like, well, what
that
happened?
hurt your nose?
So I was like, well, what happened to the nose?
Then I punched
He's
you
like,
in the
no.
face.
He's like, no, then we got you out of there. The other Mark got there. We go up there. We got you out of the car. You zigged when you should have zagged, and you face planted in the
shit.
middle of the street without putting your hands up to brace yourself.
Wow.
So drunk. And apparently my buddy and his fiance, whose house I was staying, my best man, she's like, recounting it like Joe Buck on a play-by-play.
Oh, shit.
He's going down. And she was a makeup artist, so she had to do my makeup for my face so that, like, because it was the week before the wedding to make sure.
Oh, it was a week before the wedding. That's how you do it. You because the bachelor party is usually like right around the wedding time.
Yep.
Right?
Oh man, it was.
I mean, I've been to bachelor parties at strip clubs, and I've had fun, but I'm not a big strip club guy.
How long are you supposed to be? I can't get the timing. I'm like, listen, I got $60 to spend. It's in dollars. I go in, I start having fun. Yeah, you're
Well,
great.
as long as you don't go to the private room, as long as you don't do the lap dance, that 60 will last.
I just mean like, yeah, sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. I spend a couple bucks each, person each song or whatever, and then I'm done. And I'm kind of like,
All right, I'm
This was
bored.
fun.
I'm bored.
You're gonna
I
go
got
get some
no money.
mozzarella sticks from the back.
Yeah,
it's been 45 minutes at the most. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna go-
I said, where else? I've been to bachelor parties at casinos. You ever do that one? So I
Yeah.
was like, I want to go to the casino
Oh, yeah, we did the
because the
casino
guy's
one,
a
yeah.
degenerate gambler.
Yeah.
But see, that
I don't
was
gamble,
tough.
so I'm like, good, here we are.
I went to one. It was cool, but everybody else was doing like Hold'em, and I was like, it's too much for me. I would sit at the blackjack table.
Too heavy. You probably had more fun. At the
I
night,
had
so
way
it's a
more fun.
exciting game.
I sat on like $20 playing $2 hands, getting my free drinks coming over, whatever. And I only spent $20 and was content for 3 hours. They all were miserable because they lost like hundreds.
We were in Atlantic City once for a strip club, and I got pickpocketed by one of the girls.
Did you notice right away?
I noticed right away, but I didn't put it together that I was pickpocketed. I noticed that my credit card was missing, and I was like, "Wait, I had it." And then like somehow the guy goes and he opens the ATM machine, the ATM, because we thought maybe it was stuck in the machine. And I was like, no, someone got me, like something. And somehow I had the wherewithal to call and cancel the card,
Right. Yeah,
which was pretty good because I was pretty fucking drunk.
Yeah.
And but I think it was one of the girls who worked there got me. And that was probably one of the last times I went.
I get you. Yeah. I mean, I went with, again, shout out to SU Masella.
Jesus.
I'm not trying to. I met Des. I mean, we were never together.
Neil's a stepdad for Desi Macella's kid.
No. Come on. No, we were never. Yeah, Des she was just the bubbly girl in class who had a good disposition and a good position. She again would flash us. It was just whatever. It was fun.
A great girl.
But then later I saw her later in life. We were probably in college at this point, and we went to a strip club. She was just the chick. She was dating a guy that I knew, and we just happened to see each other in Atlantic City. She was like, let's go. Let's just go to a strip club, whatever. And we went to the proper one. I think it's not Delilah's. The other one, it has like the 2-story pole in AC. I would recommend that one.
Over here.
Well, it's AC. There's like, it's again.
That's all, it really is. Yeah, I get that.
There's not too many. Like, it's you either go to bare exposures. That's where you get pickpocketed. You know what I mean? That's like full nude. If you're the bachelorette guy, the bachelor party,
they'll tie you up on stage.
They'll tie you up, full nude lady, and then just put their butt in the face and that whole.
Yes, that's a fucking gamble.
I have seen that.
That is a gamble.
It is. I did not know to what level they do it, and I was like, "That is pink eye, sir. You just got pink eye,
dude." This girl is a stranger with a sweaty ass that's been groped by everybody in here. Is now, it's like, whoa, I didn't sign up.
Bless her heart.
You show up to your fucking wedding,
I blame the dude. I'm like, dude, chill.
It turns out it was Des the whole time.
It was Des. It was Des.
Actually, were you stuck in the friend zone a lot, or no? Did you feel like?
Oh well, yes. I mean, at the time in high school, like none of those.
I had a bit of that. I knew it because we had a girl, Brittany, who would come to the house parties when we were in like high school, and my buddy had a house like attached to his parents, and they let us party there, and they would like play. She would always be down to play like strip
poker or
whatever, and she'd be the first to like miss intentionally. So she did there was an amateur night the one time at one of the local clubs, and she said she was going to do it because if you won money or whatever. And I knew I was in the friend zone with her because she's like, oh, sit down front so I can come over to you. And she did. I was like, this is great. But it meant I was in the friend zone. It was like being 100%. The backstage at the thing, which was fine because I got what I needed out of that.
Did she win?
She did not win. Okay. But in my book, she won.
Was she good? Like, did she do well?
I don't remember. I just remember boobs in my face, and they were hers. And they were.
How were your parties in high school? Were they good parties, or was it just like a bunch of people sitting in a room like this, drinking beer and talking?
So there was always an activity happening, whether it was like beer pong. Or music playing and people were in the rooms kind of socializing or in the yard. Like, dude, but there was usually something happening or somebody playing Power Hour or, the card games.
I had one summer, man, when we found out that we could get booze consistently and we knew that we liked girls and we all wanted to be around them. One summer, I had great fucking parties at my house. Music playing, people dance. I used to live
Flip Cup? You ever do a Flip Cup?
Flip Cup. We weren't playing games. We were like, all right. So I used to live in a house. That used to be a bed and breakfast. So it was large. It was big. It was big, and it had a room where they would probably do their brunches or something. And that was like our TV room, like our family room. And it was towards the back of the house. We had like music playing, people like dancing in the room. It was like a party you would see on TV. Like it was really happening. I got about 4 of them in, and then we got busted one night. This girl got way too fucking drunk and just ruined the whole thing. But they were like good fucking parties. People would show up. Like sometimes we had to tell people they had to leave. And it was like it would always be me and like 4 of my buddies, and then like all these fucking girls. It was
We're gonna
fucking great,
we're gonna
man.
bring a buddy of mine on. Because he's a dad too. His name's Michael, and he had the house that when you instantly around, he was an old country club. It was the old Scranton Country Club, and his dad
his house?
Yeah, and his dad had worked in the city doing like some really interesting like construction engineering stuff. So they were well to do. So he had bought the old Scranton Country Club. Looked like a castle, like a mini little castle. Had all the things like they had these like outside patios where they probably had brunch, and had a solarium, and it had a full basement. It had the bathrooms with the big urinals. So it was
nice.
cool because if you had a party there was enough
There was
places
enough
to
room
go.
to party, yeah.
You'd go, and there was a guy's room and a girl's room.
Yeah.
And there were stalls, and it was like perfect. And so he would have ragers. I mean, music on every floor. He had skee ball. He had a pool
these guys
table,
are
a
rich.
ping
Yeah,
pong
rich people have great
table.
parties.
He had big couches everywhere with video games. Like everybody's just partying.
Yeah.
And it was the first place I ever got drunk. We played Flip Cup, and it was a school night. But his parties would get so crazy. There was a girl one time. She was like one of the cheerleaders. I saw her go into his mom's office, squat in the
a
corner,
shit or
and just
something?
piss in the
Yeah.
corner of her mom's office.
Yep.
She was so drunk she didn't even know where she was.
Yeah.
I was like, where is she going? I walked in. I'm like, oh, what is happening?
Yeah.
And like people would get so obliterated. And the only rule was it was in the middle of nowhere. The only rule was you had to
couldn't
like
drive.
leave your keys.
Did you ever have anyone like have like an alcohol poisoning or like drink too much and die kind of deal?
So
where
we
you were from?
never that serious, but there was an instance, there was an instance where we had to call the ambulance because somebody had dropped this person off at the party. They must have had a bad reaction, so they were trying to unload this
they were
person.
dumping the person.
And they got to us and was like foaming at the mouth, like
Oh,
had to
shit.
call,
Yeah,
had to
fuck
call
that.
an ambulance.
You ever had
like-
that? You ever had?
No, I don't think so. I went on a ride along in Philly. I saw that at a college level, but I was older, but it wasn't someone that I knew.
Dude,
yeah, luckily I didn't have
we're
that.
so lucky. We didn't know what we were doing.
Well, now with drugs
We didn't
and
know
fentanyl and
we
all
were-
sorts of stuff.
Dude, listen. This is how fucking crazy. Like this is how dumb we were. So I think I may have said this. Our high school 1 year for like the prom gave us tall shot glasses, and on them it said like the night to remember, the fantasy of love, whatever the fuck. That's stupid. Yeah,
Who greenlit
dancing.
that? That's
Yeah,
so funny.
really.
Right? So the tall shot glasses. So someone I know, this crew of dudes I knew, they play basketball. They measured out how much each one, like what line.
Yeah.
And like the rite of passage was like 6 shooters. So we were called, dude, we would take 6 shots of like Vladimir's like
Bankers Club,
like
that kind of
rubbing
style.
alcohol
Yeah.
vodka and just boom, just knock them back, drink some orange juice and be like, woo, this is fun. I am so thankful that none of us fucking, it was horrible. Then we started doing it with SoCo. We would drink anything, 6 at a time.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we didn't have anyone fucking that because we didn't know what the fuck.
Well,
we were
imagine
doing,
that's why I
man.
was so grateful that they talk about gateways, but I never went beyond the gateways. So it was like, but like that girl that one day just clearly had some other stuff going on. But like, you imagine now, like kids thinking they're getting something and something else. I was at a concert as an adult. We used to go every year to Penn's Peak. For Thanksgiving, I meet up some old friends. There was like a Grateful Dead cover band, which wasn't my style.
Great room.
My friends loved it.
Yeah,
Dark
yeah.
Star Orchestra.
That's a Grateful Dead cover. band?
Yeah.
I'm at Penn's Peak. It's a great room as well.
It's a great
really
room too.
Great venue.
But
I've
like
to work
this
there
thing,
once.
this was like a really cool thing. I was just there to hang out with my buddies. They liked it, so I'm like, all right. And we would go every year. And then a couple years ago, we did a reunion as older guys. Like, let's go back.
Let's
They're still
do it,
there,
baby.
And so we're doing
get
it.
in
We're
the
partying,
shroomies?
and then like guys are passing stuff in the thing, like vape pens or something, and like people just started like you just noticed a guy fell, and then like another guy, like everybody was like it was really weird. I'm like, are we just older now? And everybody like, was this always happening like this?
Yeah.
And so because we were older, like we left early. Because we were just done. We had
Yeah,
enough.
yeah,
We
the
couldn't
night
hang
was
like we
over.
used to. When we had drank, we went to the bar and would have some like club soda and vodkas and whatever and do a shot or two, but that was it. And so we left. We went back to the hotel. Well, it came across on social media. They actually had to shut the concert down like maybe 15, 20 after we left because there was an outbreak. Somebody was passing something that had fentanyl in it, and people were going down.
And they were dropping
and they
dead,
had
essentially?
they had to stop it because they had to get ambulances in there to get people
What the
out.
fuck?
And it was this huge issue. And I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful. All of the times my mom like harped on me to like that, put a little bit of thing in me to like not go too crazy. I'm grateful because like I wouldn't have taken something from someone I didn't
they
know.
do at a Grateful Dead concert. No, all right, I'm not. You can't be just passing me shit.
Yeah.
At a room full of friends, I probably would, but I would respect. I wouldn't be partying with people I couldn't.
Yeah.
Couldn't take
So,
it.
but I would. Yeah. But like people were clearly not. There were clearly people there that were like.
I know people who like buy Coke and they can like test it. Can you? Isn't there like a way to test to make sure that stuff is good? I know people who like do
I've never.
stuff like that.
I've never even seen it. I've never
Cocaine?
even seen Coke.
I mean,
I have. I have
I've
never done it. Never
Well,
done it.
I had
Sorry,
a
go
buddy one time who, like, I knew they were, some of my friends were into it. And what I realized is because they knew that, like, and my moms were nurses. So, like, there was just a thing, like, in me to not go too crazy. But they would just leave and I'd be alone at this party. I'm like, where is everybody?
and then they'd show back up.
And then
got
they
a
would
story
show
for
back
you.
up. And what I noticed is the next day when I would stay over and we would hang, they would be so depressed. It was like, it was so, but in any event, I knew my one friend was doing it and he tried to mess with me. So he put creatine in his hand. He's like, hey man, look what I got.
And he, like,
and
ate
I
it or something?
slapped it out of his hand and then instantly backhanded him in the face. And he's just, and then I think it was after that that people were like, oh yeah, don't try to like ask him
don't fuck
for
with
it.
Jay. Jay's
But
not
like,
doing it.
that was the only thing I thought I was seeing it. And it was just creatine powder. But
I found all the kids that other dudes that were doing coke back in the day, they still do it. That's what's crazy. Like they don't really stop.
Well, I know they were very energetic for the rest of that night.
Oh, yeah,
But
they were
when I
probably
would
really
see them
annoying,
the
too.
next day, and like
Yeah.
we would be trying to watch football on a Sunday, and they would just like keep the house all dark and like lay in the
Yeah.
couch, and you're just like, this is depressing.
You guys suck. Yeah.
I even saw it as like an adult. I was with my ex at the time, and I was trying to tell her that like we were at actually a place not far from here, but some of the upscale apartments for like a New Year's Eve thing. And I was like, "This is a nice apartment. This is really nice." And it's a lot of a lot of people, but the owners of the apartment, I kind of got the sense that I was like, I kind of get this. They were richer, they were white. I kind of get this already. And she at the time is actually going to be a cop. But I'm like, she's like, yeah, I'm just gonna say bye. I was like, well, don't, because they're in the back room.
Don't open that
And
door.
I'm like, don't go in there. They're doing coke. And she's like, what? They're not. I know them. They're not doing coke. She walks in. They're doing coke.
Shaw's like,
and I'm like,
Yeah, they have to show
like
the
a dollar
hand.
bill. It's like on the door. And I'm like, I'm Brit. I'm
Yeah.
I'm
know what
garbage.
it- yeah,
I
yeah.
trust me when I tell you when someone's doing coke. I know. Like I get it. Like it's fine. She was kind of like disappointed though. I was like,
It is a rich, I guess it is rich, but
Yeah.
it's expensive. So
is it still prevalent like that?
well,
Like, I
now
don't
you have
hear
to have a
of it.
tester. To your point, like a lot of people, there's easier ways to test it and stuff like that. But like, yeah, you need to have money
So
to
you
do
said-
coke. That's the whole thing.
I don't
It's a
see. I
whole
don't.
world.
I feel like
scary.
I'm
What
not
do you
out
think?
much,
I don't
man.
know.
I'm not out
You
much.
imagine what their drugs. I mean, drugs are going to be like 10 years from now. What's it going to be?
Oh man, who the fuck knows? I guess they just how do they just keep on making new drugs, right? Like, did fentanyl exist 30 years ago, or is this like a new thing that is now in the out here?
Fentanyl, I think, in my
I'm
knowledge,
sure it
is-
existed, but like maybe it wasn't at a level where it was getting out on the street.
Well, it's synthetic, right? Fentanyl is synthetic, so it probably didn't exist. It's like Dilaudid, where it's a
okay.
synthetic opiate. Like it's like
So someone's making that.
so.
in the
Yeah,
lab.
that was a
but
drug.
was it
that-
made for something? Did it maybe
Pain,
serve a
right?
purpose?
Yeah, no, these drugs are
And
for
then-
same thing with the opioid crisis we dealt with.
Yeah.
These drugs were specifically for people dying of cancer, and then marketed towards
Yeah.
the mass public. So yeah, fentanyl kind of
So
got
there's
out.
something
and they
out there
started-
now that's like that. That's maybe going to make its way.
So
into
how's it
the-
work? So if someone gets fentanyl, they find out what it is, and then they like scientifically break it down and find out how they can remake it, or
Yeah.
are they like still getting legal fentanyl and then turning it to the streets? How the fuck
Right.
does that work?
Yeah, I think it's what's happening is every time we have junkies, unfortunately, and people who abuse the drugs often, or when they have availability to them, you will have drug dealers who then start mixing stuff into the products because they, a lot of times, like, you got to remember when people overdose, drug sales go up.
People like that
Because they're like, well, they're so fucked up. They think they can handle it, whatever it might be. You know, they're dealing in the grips of an addiction there. So like their drug sales go up when they hear there's something out in the street that's powerful, because they just care about powerful. So it's dangerous that way. So, but once it gets out of the system, or other countries, it's obviously Mexico. It's easier to get drugs over there. Sometimes so they're mixing them in. You know, it's a mess. Yeah. It's very, very tough. Back to school though, guys. You know what I mean? No.
Well, but when we have a lot of that. Like we had trainings and stuff.
Right.
With that, you know, I even have some bits that I work on that I talk about, like, because we had training on what to watch for, what kind of, a lot of it's the vape pens now.
Yeah.
And like,
are you Narcan up and everything like that at the school?
No, they don't. We never went that far with any of it. Most of it was like,
that's in the city now. Like, there's just organizations that will teach you how to use Narcan.
Well, they'll show you all the stuff that the kids might have on them, and then you notice like kids they'll know who the kids are that the dealers are now. And so some of those will be like, hey, if that kid ever has to go to the restroom, you have to call the office to let us know, because we think that they're selling. And so that they were really behind. As I worked in the discipline team, I would see that there were plans and like, we think
they want to
kid's
catch them
selling.
red-handed so they can get rid of them.
And so they were like, you know, which bathrooms they were going to, and there was codes and all. Like, there's a whole underbelly.
Why would you sell the drugs at school when you could sell them after school? That seems kind of silly. I know
but
who made
you
the first vape
couldn't.
pen.
No. But why? Because it depends on the district. If you're in a district that's like rural and spread out, you don't have that. School is your hub.
That's
where your business is. That's like being at the mall.
Yeah.
What the mall was to the 80s and 90s, it's school for
now?
these kids. And so it's all of those moments, and that's why it's like, because if we're talking about these people on the street, these are kids. These are just grown up kids who are continuing to. It's unfortunate, but then there's a whole underbelly where the kids are making money, and maybe these are kids in a disadvantaged family, and they're making money
paying
for
the
their
mortgage.
family.
I knew a kid who made the first vape pen. This is so bad. This is so fucking bad. I'm not going to say his name. If he hears this, he knows exactly who the fuck he is. He's got to be the only one in the world who's done this. You remember those Pilot pens that had like the ink you could see through them?
Yeah.
He found a way to like clear those out, like open it up, extract the ink, and this motherfucker would put gas in the pen and poke holes in the back, and he would huff the fucking gas.
Yeah.
Yes, and he'd be like, fucked up.
When I was in,
Dude, that was the first vape pen. I was like, wow, that's insane.
I saw the opioid crisis in real life. There was a kid who was smoking opioids when I worked at in college. I worked at an arcade. And this kid was smoking. I was already in it. And I was just like, yo, dude, you can't do that here. Like, if I ever see you do it again, like, I'm just going to, I tell people, like, you're messed up at work. But he was just, he would take a hollow out, just any pen, whatever, pill in one side, and he would just smoke it.
He would smoke the pill.
Terrified me. Yeah.
Does the pill still work in the gas
Yeah, he's
form?
getting something.
Now, what was that kid? So that kid that was doing that vape pen, what was his family life like?
Single mom. Dad was around, but he spent most of his time with his mom. I know that there was cigarette smoking. I don't know if his parents were doing drugs.
Yeah.
The man right now is super successful. He was very smart.
You gotta play with
he's
the
very
boundaries, I
mechanically
guess.
inclined.
That's what's tough.
And he's like, he's fine. He's normal, but back then that's what he wanted to do. And I guess, and I don't know how much of that was he wanted to do it or he wanted to be known as the guy who did it, but he did it. Did you guys ever go to school high?
I mean,
was that a thing where you lived?
Never. I mean, no. Worst I was doing was maybe smoking a cigarette before school.
Okay.
Which at that point was
Might as
giving
well be
me
high.
a little
Yeah,
high. But that was like 11th grade before I got
that was bad.
cavalier enough. But that's why I just wonder. Like, I think the common denominator is I know my mom was clear about how she felt about drugs and stuff, and it didn't mean it didn't experiment, because I can't expect that my daughters aren't going to experiment.
Something's
or
gonna
do
happen.
something.
Something's gonna happen.
But like, I feel like the common denominator is going to be talking about it and not pretending it doesn't exist, or like, I hope that I can have that conversation in a way that doesn't shut them off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, your kids are gonna think like. Do you think your kids are gonna think you're like a square? Like when you tell them stories or you talk about things, are they gonna think like, here's dad doesn't know shit about shit? Or are you gonna be like, when I was your age, because like I keep it real, we go to school high, or we would like, especially if there's a field trip. If there's a field trip and we're gonna be on the bus, We called them journeys. We would drive out in the woods, smoke all of whatever we could, and we'd be stoned till lunchtime. Like, just,
I mean, in college,
like-
at college, I hooked up with a couple of guys that we would just go to somebody's car in the back parking lot, and you would just, hotbox the car, and then you'd go back into the room and watch, whatever.
Yeah,
Ren
that's
and Stimpy,
Yeah, like that's that's crazy. Dude, I remember guys would smoke weed and then they'd be in wood shop, and it's like, wow, this is like not where you need to be right now. Like you're fucking stoned. That's a lathe.
They
Like,
call him Nine Fingers Larry.
Yeah.
Something bad's gonna happen. I remember this one time.
How was you paranoid?
Was that?
You didn't get paranoid?
I was young, so I was just all
like,
fun. You know
whatever,
what I mean?
yeah.
But I remember I was a senior, and there was a teacher who was my homeroom teacher when I was younger, and then ended up being a teacher of mine when I was older. And he was always in my ear about things, and he was a cool dude. And one day I was in school and I was high. I was like fucking ripped. And he comes and leans against the locker right next to me. He's like, "Where are you going to college next year?" And I told him. He's like, "You playing ball?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he looks around and goes, "There's rumors going around that you're getting into some real wacky shit." And I'm high as can be. I got to assume he knows.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What?" He was like, "You know what the fuck I'm talking about." He just kept it real. He was like, "You're getting into some wacky shit." I was like, He was like, "Yo, you're going to break your mother's heart. Be fucking smart." And then he walked away. Now, I was still into some wacky shit, but I took what he said and I was like, yeah, maybe you should like at least mask it so everyone doesn't know that you're being an asshole.
Right.
But, when you're stoned and some teacher's up in your face talking to you about being into some way, I thought my world was going to end right there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, it's like people don't hide it. Well, I had a gig, where I was like Governors up in Long Island, and like there, I guess it's like recreationally legal now.
In New York, I mean.
We were in the back, and there was another room there, and the other room there were a bunch of comics on that show. But like I'm sitting there about to go on, and all of a sudden the waft just comes in.
You just get that.
You're like, dude, I don't know. It's just like when I see the younger comics like at the mics and they come by, and you're just like, whoa.
Well, when you link this with comedy, I think a lot of times people think that they're high and nobody else knows. So they're on stage and you're thinking to yourself, this would be good if you weren't stoned out of your fucking gourd. Like this is good stuff, but like your inability to put together a sentence and how you're laughing at yourself at the wrong times, like you ruin this, and it's because you're fucking high. Because I stopped drinking because I used to think when I drank I got like good.
Yeah.
And then one day I was like looking at her, I couldn't even like, I was like, hey, you're a drunk and you don't sound as good as you think you do. Yeah. And then I just fucking.
I mean, at first it's like I think it's you're testing the boundaries, you're seeing what it does to you. But then what happens is for some people, that's why I asked about that kid's like home life, because then is it something that you're using recreationally to just have fun? Like I like to go on a roller coaster, but I don't want to live my life on a roller coaster. Versus where I'm doing that to avoid doing something else. And so when it becomes a thing that you're doing to escape, or you're trying to level up. That's when I think it gets sad when I'm seeing somebody doing it because they can't deal with what's going on right now. They don't want to feel the feelings that they have right now. And when you're avoiding it rather than doing it because it's a weekend and you're unwinding and you're
usually
socially lubricating yourself. That's the difference.
Yeah, that was probably me.
That's usually the sign when the weekend ends and you're still pursuing it or trying to do it. That's when you have a problem. If you're someone's like, hey, it's Friday, 5 o'clock on a Friday, let's do all the bad things. Then Sunday at 3 o'clock, you're like shaving and getting ready for work the next day and you're done. That's when it's cool. When you're like Monday night and you're getting into the same shit you were doing on Saturday, that's when it's like, oh, you probably.
I will say I have
like
two close friends who are no longer my friends. And if they hear this, they'll know who they are. One of which was one of my closest friends for a long time, and he got caught. He had alcoholism, and he was an alcoholic, and he's cleaned himself up. But the problem is, I think we were so much of a part of each other's lives during that period that he had to separate himself from the triggers,
the people,
and include even though I wasn't one, I was in that realm of his life that we can no longer, and I feel like sad about that.
Yeah, but you gotta you respect it.
But
though.
you
gotta respect
I like
it,
his Facebook post, but then I have another one who's fallen off the map who I think is still into all of it. His parents had recently passed away. A lot of other things had happened. I used to reach out every year or so. But like since my wedding, and that was like 12 years ago, I just thought we would have always been like old men on rocking chairs, and I think he's so. But in my heart, I'm like, if he ever comes around, he ever calls me, I'll totally pick up the phone. I'll totally make an effort. But I watched him hit some lows I'd never seen people hit before. And I've had two really close friends like that. And one's cleaned himself up. One, I think he's still going through it. And it's heartbreaking to watch that. And like that for me is such a hard trigger that I think you learn that lesson the hard way and you're like, okay, well then I don't want to be that. I don't,
That's one thing I would tell my kids. Like, I was like, hey, if I could do it again, don't be like peer pressure. Like there's so much peer pressure growing up from, some different aspects, but
it's
with drinking, it's like, hey dude, if you're 17 and I've got kids with that, it's like one thing I don't want to hear out of you guys is peer pressuring someone else to drink more, or drink this. It's like, that's what really should have been. I stopped doing that very early on. It's like, dude, if they don't want to drink, just leave them alone. Like, just why are you forcing them or like calling them pussy and stuff like that?
I'm out. We're out doing shows and there's alcohol all over the place. I drink club soda.
Right.
Yep.
If someone's like, you drink it, it's always, even to I'm fucking 39. I'm talking to someone who's 38. And it's like, you drinking water, pussy? And it's like, why? Why is this affecting your world at all? Yeah. Like, why you're worried that much what I'm doing?
Well, because they want that. They don't want to be the only ones because
they want to be
walking. Yeah. Because that's what it is. And if the peer pressure, I don't tell my daughters when they get older, the world's such a small place now. You're telling me you can't. There's one thing if you're in a neighborhood and it's pre-cell phones and your circle is small. Yeah. But now the world's your oyster. Join a group, join another team. There's got to be an online forum. There's a place where you can be around other peers now. And so there's so many other peers that pick the right peers to be around so that if there are peer pressure, then maybe it's because they want you to join a book club with them or they want you to go on this
They want you to learn chess.
Yeah. They want you to do something else and let's get the peer pressure on to be on the right track. But those things, I think it's all a part of it. We talked about episodes before bullying and stuff. I think there's rites of passages and things that have to happen, but you have to find a boundary. And hopefully you have parents who are going to talk you through it and be open and communicate about the dangers and be honest about what they experienced as a kid.
Yeah, like I will probably tell my daughter that I was in school high. I would probably tell her that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want her to think like, oh, here's my dad. He doesn't get it. Like, oh, I get it. I've done this shit, kiddo. Like, I fucking get. And like I got a friend now who's he's coming out of it, but he was in the drug game for fucking years, man. And then then you get locked up, and then this happens and that happens. He's now emerging, and I want him to do well so fucking badly. Like I really do. I want to see him come out on. Please come out on top, bro. You know who the fuck I'm talking to. Please come out on top. And it's like, I don't. Yeah, it's sad.
Well, that's why the Andrew Duck episode we did, I think, was so impactful.
Yeah,
because there's a guy that's doing that.
There's a guy
that's turning all of that into a positive. He seems to be killing it right now, just personally too. Like
comedy in the Craig, baby.
You hope that. Yeah, you always hope for that. I think that's how parents are going to be with kids because that's what's so heart wrenching for the parents is that they unconditionally love their kid and see them go down the rabbit hole and have to give the tough love. That's heartbreaking. So any parent out there who's ever dealt with a kid and still maybe wondering where they are right now, that's a reality for a lot of people right now. And I'm grateful and I hope that I have enough of a relationship with my daughters that they don't go down that path or, if they see that in friends that they know, how to be there for them. Yep. So
there you go.
You guys got anything coming up in the first week of September past that? Anything you want to?
Yeah, I thought I'll just check the socials.
Yeah.
J Yoder Comedy, jyodercomedy.com.
Yeah.
We keep it up to date. Albert posting all the time. So
Albert Davis _4th. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better. I'm working on it. There'll be shit there. There'll be something there for you to look at.
Yeah. Find us. We're around. We're doing stuff. We're here, and every week tune in and tell a friend.
And tell your friends. Yeah, man, this is some fucking seriously dad shit. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a great school year, everybody.
Back to school.
Seriously, Dad. Seriously.
Thank you for listening to the Dads, for once. Give these daddies a break. And maybe follow, subscribe, like, and comment to the Dads on Instagram and YouTube at Seriously Dad Pod. Rate and review Seriously Dad Podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
Seriously, Dad.
How you doing? This is Neil Wood from the Cult of Us podcast, speaking on behalf of Drop 10 Media Network, the network you're currently listening to. Make sure to check out all the other podcasts on the network. You can go to drop10.com to check them all out. Make sure to like, subscribe on everything that you see Drop 10 on. We appreciate it. Go to drop10.com. seriouslydads.com now.
This has been a Drop Tent Media production.